Morning and welcome to the July 26th Board of Supervisors meeting. Please join Supervisor Worthley will lead us in the flag salute and will be followed by a moment of silence.
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and please be seated. Okay, we will start off with our supervisor matters and Supervisor Vanderpool.
Thank you, Supervisor Ennis. Well, first of all, I have to say that I think whenever you do decide to retire, Mr. Ennis, I'm going to have to get you a satellite clock because you like to start meetings at different times, early and late sometimes. So we'll get you a satellite clock sometime. That way you know exactly what time it is.
But I'm always here early.
You are always
More
early.
than I can say
For me, you're right. But anyways, real quick, I just wanted to cover our space planning committee. I think that we had a very productive afternoon last week, touring a couple of the county facilities, the Office of Education planetarium building that the county owns and had leased to the Office of Ed for a long period of time, and then also the Cigna building. And we were specifically looking at the buildings and how we can outfit them for the new departments that are going to be locating there. And I do have to say, I think it went very well. Each department that toured with us was very upfront about their needs, what they wanted their building to look like, and we were very upfront about the budget that we're working with and what we have to make some changes or improvements with. And I think that the departments were very understanding, and I think we are going to actually be able to ultimately put something together that's going to meet both the departmental needs and stay within the budget. So we have a follow-up meeting that is today, and then we are specifically going to be dealing with county council, and that's going to be very easy because you can just tell your attorney what you want her building to look like and really not have to listen to her too much, right, Kathleen?
Of course, sir.
But I think that'll go very well, and I just have to say thank you to the board for the process because I think it's been very effective. So that's what I wanted to cover, and I'll turn it over now to the next supervisor.
Thank you, Supervisor Vanderpool. Supervisor Cox.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think we ought to all rise for Her Majesty, who just entered. Good to see Connie Conway here. And I have a completely different view of our space planning meeting that we had. I will call it good cop, bad cop. We had a good cop over here who said, tell us what you would like, what you would need, tell us what colors you would like to have. And they all looked at me and I said, no. And so very good process, though, even though we did have to play that role a little bit. You know, we do want this to come in on budget, and we need it to come in on budget. And we're still going to end up with very, very good projects, even though we've had to go in and reduce the budget a little bit. We're not reducing the budget, we're actually reducing the want list. So very good process. We had a good walkthrough, a better walkthrough in the buildings than I think we've ever had before, where the department heads were actually able to say, this is the function that's going to take place here, and this is the function that will take place here. So I think that went very well. We're able to get some keys and access to the department heads so they can go over and do further planning. So I think that went really good. Last week, my wife and I volunteered for the police department. I was able to work at the DUI checkpoint Friday night. I was glad that nobody that is here today was there Friday. Yesterday, kind of a heads up to the board and our CAO, we had a retirement board administrative committee meeting, and we were discussing the process, how applications are taken at the retirement board. And one of the specific issues was employer filed applications. You know, occasionally we need to file a retirement application for an employee, as a matter of, we're thinking that they are never coming back to work, they're disabled, and they keep having hope that maybe in 2 or 3 years they might be able to return to work. Problem with that, it ties up positions, it ties up resources, and so there were some decisions made that would completely change how the employer filed applications proceed. And I think this board needs to have that by way of a heads up, and our CEO needs to really look into that and see what it would mean, and I'll give him further information later on. This evening, there's a Chamber After Hours event, corner of Pinkham and Noble at the bank there here in Visalia, and that is from 5:30 to 7. That's all I have, Mr.
Hey,
Chair.
thank you, Supervisor Cox. Supervisor Worthley.
Thank you, Chairman. Yesterday morning, I was able to be here. The sheriff had a swearing-in ceremony, or bringing on new staff. I believe there were 15 sworn officers and 1 non-sworn officer. I think it's the largest number I've ever seen inducted at one time or heard of. It's quite amazing. I mean, it basically filled up the whole well with all the folks. And good turnout, of course, of family and friends who were here to wish them well. The sheriff scared everybody half to death by talking about how dangerous the job was and how difficult it was going to be for the families, but they stuck it out. Nobody left. I thought they might decide that was time to leave the room, but they all stuck around and took their badges. So we wish them well. We're happy to see the rebuilding continuing in the sheriff's office, and it was great to see so many folks brought on board. Wanted to talk a little bit about something which is not happening. We had anticipated that there might be, CNN might be doing a specific expose on pre-mortality, and we're going to focus here in Tulare County, which is sort of the epicenter of the problem. We thought they were going to be here last Thursday, then they thought it was going to be coming this next Thursday. I was not going to be able to attend. The Supervisor Innes is going to be there in my stead. Now we understand that they're not going to be there this Thursday also. And that there may be a future event. But I do understand, Mike, that the supervisor of the forest is planning on still having a news event on that date and place and time, and I hope that you're going to be able to attend there, because I am concerned that we need to be sure to tell our side of the story, our concern as supervisors, as residents of Tulare County, about the activity or the lack of activity or the scope of the activity that's not being done necessary on the national forest. We have 8.1 million dead trees in Tulare County, the largest population of dead trees anywhere in the southern Sierra. We have on the Sequoia, and about at least 60% or 70% of that is on the national forest. So we need a lot of, this is truly an emergency. The trees are continuing to die, and as we've seen the fires as they're occurring in Southern California and up in Monterey, every time it's always the same story. Wow, this fire is just more than we've never seen fires like this. This is explosive. This is just goes off the charts. Well, believe me, if we get a fire started in the front country of the Sierra Nevada range this year, it's going to be off the charts. And so every effort needs to be made now to do something about it. And I'm sorry that they're not going to be here, but hopefully they will show up again. But I do hope we will attend the event tomorrow to be sure to tell our side of the story. That's all I have. Thank you.
Supervisor Ishida.
Last week we had a meeting with the memorial districts in Tulare County. I think it was a very good meeting. We have some districts that are having financial problems. We have districts that are not submitting their annual report to the auditor. We talked about consolidation of some services, and we also talked about an election to increase their annual assessments on the property tax. From there, on Thursday, I went to Oakland and for a meeting in Antioch for the San Joaquin JPA, which is the Amtrak line. We do manage the Amtrak line in the San Joaquin Valley, and we are looking at making it more connective to the cities and to different attractions that we have in the valley. One of the prime destinations that's researched on our Amtrak website is Yosemite, which kind of surprised me in a way, is that Yosemite got that much traffic on our website. So what I intend to do, and whoever replaces me, we need to put the sequoias also and try to get a loop between Yosemite and Sequoia. Probably 30% of our visitors are from foreign countries, and especially in the fall, if we can provide that service to where they really do not have to rent a car, and they can take our shuttle, they can go to Yosemite and take a shuttle, come back through Hanford to Visalia and take a shuttle, I think it'd be very attractive to a lot of the foreign visitors. Meeting was on Friday. Saturday morning, I left for Long Beach and for the NACO conference, which is the National Association of Supervisors. We had their annual meeting in Long Beach, and I drew the short straw, and I got to go to the conference. The one thing, I planned for a 4-hour trip to Long Beach. And I said, well, it's on a weekend. There's not that much traffic on a weekend. Well, I was wrong. I think there's more traffic on the weekend because people aren't at work, so there's not that gap in the traffic that there usually is during the weekday. So it took me over 4 hours to get to Long Beach. The good part about NACO was the fact that we did not pay for the registration or my expenses because the state Association of Supervisors paid for Tulare County. The main reason they did that is we had Greg Cox running for second vice president from San Diego County, and he will be, through the rotation, he will become the president of the National Association. So California wanted to have 100% participation, which we did get, and to elect Greg Cox to the rotating chair to go to be the chairman. So that was successful. The traffic coming home from Long Beach yesterday was a little bit better, but we're talking about the sand fire that's going on. You can be downtown Los Angeles, and that fire looks like it's over the next ridge. And as I drove through Newhall, that fire was just on the other side of the ridge. So when you turned the news on down in Long Beach for 3 days, all you heard about and all they covered was the fire. The good point was the traffic was much better on Sunday than it was yesterday on Monday than it was on Saturday going in. So that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody was back at work, hopefully. That's the way
Back home.
Yeah, I will be heading up the hill on Thursday. I'll have to check and see if Carrie and Chief Norman are going to go, and if they do, I'll meet them up there. But this is a big issue, and it's something that if you haven't been out in the mountains and looked at it, you just can't fathom how many dead trees there are. And the monument is the big culprit because you can't touch anything in the monument. There's been no management, nothing touched. It just goes to show you, the longer you leave something alone and don't do anything, it's not going to get better. It's going to get a lot worse. And so, like I keep telling people, it's just if and when that fire comes, it's going to be a reckoning. And the reckoning is the fact that we're going to lose not 150,000 acres, probably 1 million acres, and they don't go back and plant trees. So what you got there, you're going to have moonscape probably, and it's going to stay that way for a long time because nobody's going to plant any trees. Whatever the birds bring in, if you get some moisture, that's what comes up. So it's not good. They continue to take water out of Lake Success, 1,200 acre feet a day. In the near future, it will be down almost to minimum pool, probably under 10,000 acre feet. The recreational part will be cut way down, but I'm noticing if I drive around Porterville and go across J Street, I'm seeing 15, 20 people on inner tubes floating down the river. Whether I go across 65 and they're floating down the river, I don't know where they go and get out. Maybe somebody picks them up down at Westwood or someplace where the river goes. But they're still getting some good recreational use out of it. And of course, the fires have pretty well cleaned up the riverbed through Porterville. It's clean. There's not even any. There's no more bamboo. We haven't had any bamboo in years because we haven't had any water running. And a lot of the old dead trees that were down, they burned up. So it looks pretty good. It's pretty good when you drive through Porterville now, and especially seeing the water flowing. So But that's all I have.
Chairman, one more
Yes.
comment, if I might. We did meet last Wednesday with the Tule Indian Tribe, and I thought it was a very successful meeting and a very amicable meeting. They've talked to us about what they want to do, and I think we are very much on the same page as far as they're looking at fee to trust provisions. They're looking, with the exception of where they would like to relocate their casino, they're looking at fee to trust applications only as it applies to property which is adjacent to the existing reservation, which I think is consistent with the concern the board has had for some time about hopscotching around the countryside and having land put into trust. Also, very supportive of one another in terms of dealing with tree mortality and other issues that we have in common, and we have a lot in common, and water issues for them. And they're hoping to raise the spillway on a couple of small dams they have up there that they can raise without having to go through a lot more congressional act. That they can basically, once they complete their environmental phase, they'll be able to do these improvements that will give them additional water. But they were talking about how quickly the river's already diminished this year. The runoff was not what we had anticipated, and so we're not out of this drought yet by any means. But anyway, it was a very good meeting, I thought, and very much appreciated the attitude of the tribe and their policies are going forward.
In fact, I think it was one of the best meetings that we've had as far as openness
Right.
from them and us both, and saying, hey, we can help you guys in any way. And I know they're trying to get a little subdivision out on the east side of Porterville put in, and we told them we could help them with that, and we would, and looks like it's moving forward. So it was a good meeting, and of course I talked to PK on the radio about it and tried to bring everybody up to speed on what we did talk about. But it was a good meeting, and I thought so too.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
When we speak of tree mortality, I've been advocating that once we go through an area that's been burnt, that we graze it off with sheep and goats. Well, not only I've been advocating it, that some of the Forest Service management and private people are doing that. They're hiring herds to come in and eat off whatever is growing, because otherwise everything turns into a chaparral, which is your next big fire. And maybe the good point is maybe someday not only be the dairy capital of the nation, we might be the sheep and goat capital of the nation.
Look out, Patagonia.
Well, grazing used to be the big component of managing our forest, because the cattle would walk around, knock the old dead limbs off the trees and stuff, and grass would be low. Set it on fire when you leave. It would burn the things on the ground, but wouldn't go up into the trees and get up in the crown. So that used to happen quite a bit. Not anymore. Okay, thank you, everybody, for your input this morning. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2. We're going to present a proclamation to approve the month of August 2016 as Child Support Awareness Month on behalf of Tulare County Department of Child Supportive Services. And here this morning is Roger Dixon and James Bonifay to speak on that issue. Come on up.
Good morning, Supervisors, Mr. Spada and Mrs. Bales-Lang. Is that right? I hope I get it right. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak today and share with you about our department. My name is James Bonifay, and I am the Public Information Officer for the Tulare County Department of Child Support Services. Our vision is that children can count on both parents for the medical, emotional support, and most importantly, financial support that they need to be successful. This goal is achieved by our office through vigor and passion. We are currently on track to collect $38 million for the 25,800 children that we serve in our county. Next month, we are teaming up with a number of partners from Community Service Employment Training, also known as CSET, and the Employment Connection, to Advanced Career Institute Truck and Welding School, to Employer Eagle Mountain Casino, to provide customers a resource and employment fair on August 17th in the Visalia office and on August 18th at the Porterville office. Additionally, we will be talking to customers at the different libraries during the last week of August. Our office looks forward to serving the families of Tulare County throughout the year, and we thank the board and the county for proclaiming August as Child Support Awareness Month. And now I'd like to introduce our director, Roger Dixon.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So I just want to kind of reiterate what James has said. We're in the process of reaching out to the community. Child support can only be paid if you're gainfully employed. So we're trying to help the whole families. You know, we're extending the handshake instead of the hammer. We have the hammer if we need it, but we want to try to ensure that we help the whole families. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to one of our events next month and come support us and see what we do and come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Declaring August 2016 as Child Support Awareness Month in Tulare County. The vision of Tulare County's Department of Child Supportive Service is that the children can count on both parents for the financial, medical, emotional support they need to be healthy and successful. The purpose of the mission of the Tulare County Department of Child Support Services are to enhance the well-being of children by assuring that assistance in obtaining support, including financial and medical, is available to children through locating parents, establishing paternity, establishing support obligations, and monitoring and enforcing these obligations. More than 25,800 children benefit each year from the services provided by the Tulare County Department of Child Support Services, with approximately $38 million in child support expected to be collected and distributed in the federal fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016, enabling children to grow up in a healthy environment where they receive the financial, medical, and emotional support they need from both parents is among the department's highest priorities. August 2016 has been selected as Child Support Awareness Month of the state of California. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim August 2016 as Child Support Awareness Month in Tulare County. Signed by Alan Ashita, Pete Vanderpool, Philip Cox, Stephen Worthley, and Mike Ennis. Thank you guys for all you do, and Roger for doing an outstanding job. Very, very, very capable person, both of you, to be running this child support services. And we're very, very pleased that you came to work for us here. You've been doing an outstanding job. Thank you. Okay, well, move on to item number
Mr. Chair, I do
Oh,
believe
that
this
is
is an
a
action
motion. Yes,
item,
that
and I
is
would
a-
move for approval
Moved
of
by
declaring August
Supervisor
Child Support Awareness Month.
Vanderpool, second by Supervisor Worley. Cast your votes. Vote unanimous. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Anybody wishing to speak to the board on issues pertaining to the Board of Supervisors but not on the agenda may do so at this time. Thank you. Come on forward.
Morning, Supervisors. My name is Kristen Dobbin, and I am the Regional Water Management Coordinator at Community Water Center here in Visalia. And I'm here today because we are deeply concerned with delays in discussions regarding the emergency groundwater ordinance. We have been talking about how to deal with groundwater overdraft for more than a year in this county. I think we've had a lot of really fruitful discussions. But since mid-June, we've had 3 recommendations made, and it's been sitting, waiting for your board to take up as an issue. Since we've been waiting in the last month, 80 domestic wells have been reported to have failed in the county, and many more wells are on the brink of failure. We work with a lot of residents who are just waiting for their wells to fail, even this week, today, tomorrow. Many public systems are also stressed by the uncertainty of declining groundwater levels. And so we know that groundwater overdraft is a crisis, and we can't wait until late August to take up this issue. We're not even to the end of this process yet. We need to move forward. I'm worried about losing momentum. And so I'm here today to respectfully ask that you put this issue on your next agenda on August 9th so we can continue forward, produce draft language that can produce more conversations and move us forward on this path. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak under public comment?
Good morning, Rena Castellanos. I have been a community advocate working in many underserved communities throughout Tulare, Kings County, with the approach of just doing a lot of groundwork or grassroots organizing. I've met with a lot of families who could really benefit from the HERO program. It is currently not in a lot of the unincorporated areas. Particular area that drew my attention was Ivanhoe. I have quite a few families who would be very interested in taking advantage of the HERO program and doing updates to their home. One particular family really made me take the time to come in. A lady, she's going through chemo. Husband is already going through dialysis. She was in a situation where she was getting heat stress in her home because her home was so hot. They don't have the financial backup to be able to do that type of, major repair and go from a swamp cooler to a retro and get a central AC. But I think it's something that should definitely come back and to the agenda and see what we could do to bring the HERO program to these smaller communities.
Mr. Chair, may I ask her a question? Is this person you're talking about familiar with Proteus and their program that they administer for Southern California Edison?
Most definitely, and a few of the families that I have talked to in the particularly Ivanhoe community where I've been doing a lot of groundwork have reached out to Proteus. They are on a waiting list, but I mean, with the heat the way it is and it not looking like it's going down anytime soon, wait time has been very difficult.
Yeah, I understand that. Just that we're talking about a program that Proteus administers that would be free to those residents instead of having a bill placed on their property.
These are
tax
homeowners.
That they have to pay once a year.
Yeah.
You can still have Proteus will still work on your home if you're a homeowner.
Correct. These are homeowners, and they're more than willing to take on the stipulations with the HERO program. They're more than willing to pay for their services and get a contractor to go and do the renovations or the retrofits, but they're just not wanting to keep waiting on a waiting list till a program comes and helps. So,
Mr. Chairman, one of the issues we have with the program is it's not showing up in the preliminary title reports. So when a buyer comes in and buys one of those homes that has that side agreement on it, they're not aware of it. So we need, not only probably on a state level, that we need to find a way to record that information so it shows up on a title report. And I think that's the hang-up as far as we're concerned.
Well, real quickly, we did refer this back. We had a presentation on this within the last month, and they were going to go back, talk with because the realtors showed up. They were in opposition to it for the reason that the supervisor she was talking about. It sounded like there was going to be a resolution that they were going to bring it back forward. So we're kind of waiting for that to happen, and then I think the board would be willing to take action.
well, if there is anything that can be done, or if there's any conversation that we can have to talk to the program administrators and see what can be done to alleviate that headache, it would be more than worthwhile.
I think you could be very helpful for us to clear that hurdle. And if you would talk to our board rep, Carrie Crane, on this issue, and we could use your support to get a solution to the issue that we have.
Carrie is right behind you. You guys can get together right now.
Sounds great.
Okay.
We're on a roll here.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wishing to approach the board on public comment? Seeing none, we will close the public comment. Let's take up our consent calendar. Item 23 is pulled off calendar completely. Any other items that the board would like to see pulled? Or
Mr. Chair, if there are no further items to be pulled by the board or members of the public, I would move for approval of the entire consent calendar, less item 23.
Second.
Moved by Supervisor Vanderpool, second by Supervisor Cox. Cast your votes. The vote's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, move on to our untimed items. Item 28 is the grand jury response. Carrie.
Good morning, Supervisors, CAO, Council. Carrie Crane, Board Representative with the Board of Supervisors. The 2015-16 Grand Jury Final Report includes one report that requests responses from your board. The draft responses are included with the agenda item. For all reports, respondents must address each finding, stating either their agreement or disagreement. The response also addresses each recommendation, stating if it will be implemented or not. If further analysis is needed, it must be completed within 6 months. I'll review the draft response for your consideration, citing the recommended determinations, and please let me know if you have any questions or modifications to the draft. There is one for your consideration this morning entitled Tulare County, Are We Ready for El Nino?, which includes 6 findings and 5 recommendations. Findings and responses are as follows. Finding number 1 states various county and city agencies have been proactive in anticipation of an El Nino event. Response, the board agrees with this finding. Finding number 2 states RMA hotspot historically flood-prone areas identification will aid in A, timely, adequate placement of personnel and equipment, and B, identify which water conveyors will be impacted by floodwaters and to use their system as pressure relief valve. Response, the board agrees with this finding. Finding number 3 states Tulare County has placed emphasis on the valley floor, the western region, but did not have any flood control projects or management plan in the foothill area, the central region. Response, the board partially agrees with this finding. As mentioned in finding number 2, the Resource Management Agency, also known as RMA, identification of hotspots helps assess and prioritize areas in the highest potential for threat to public safety. These areas are typically located on the valley floor. Tulare County has a flood control master plan that contains a list of improvement projects throughout the region, including the foothill area. Projects include roadside drainage swale maintenance, bridge inspections and clearing, community outreach, and more. Tulare County staff has worked diligently to be prepared for any potential flooding event, whether it is in the valley floor or the foothills. Finding number 4 states clearing of bridges and channels will help movement of water, in turn reducing flooding events. Response, the board agrees with this finding. Finding number 5 states pre-planning of flood protection of county facilities has the potential to reduce flood damage and increase cost savings for taxpayers. The response, the board agrees with this finding. Finding number 6 states goal statements from various agencies show a greater emphasis on capturing and percolating rainfall and runoff into groundwater in previous years. Response, the board agrees with this finding. The county will work with RMA to accomplish flood control goals as well as implement feasible projects that will aid in increasing groundwater recharge, on-site retention, and etc. Regarding the recommendation for this report, recommendation number 1 states that applicable agencies should increase emphasis in water storage projects when the opportunities for water retentions are higher. Response, the county has and continues to implement this recommendation. RMA staff is modifying existing flood control project plans to emphasize water storage, as well as addressing ongoing issues brought on by the recent drought and state regulations such as the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. Recommendation number 2 states that applicable agencies should not ignore the importance of flood control projects due to drought conditions. The response, Tulare County is already implementing this recommendation by working with the County Flood Control Commission and RMA to create and execute flood control projects like the replacement of bridges, stream bank restoration, and infrastructure protection projects. Recommendation number 3 states that applicable agencies continue their progress on existing flood control projects. Response: Tulare County is already implementing this recommendation. Aside from current approved flood control projects, RMA continues to update the board on potential future projects, such as the Seville Sontag Ditch project scheduled to begin work in fall of 2016, work on the juvenile detention facility at Cottonwood Creek in the summer of 2017, and construction of the Yedem Button Ditch in 2017. Recommendation number 4 states Tulare County adopt a Foothill Region Flood Management Plan. Response: Tulare County has already implemented this recommendation. As stated previously, the county has an adopted flood control master plan that covers all areas of the county from the valley floor to the foothill region. Recommendation number 5 states, when rehabilitating public parks, adding water retention and percolation capabilities should be considered. Response: Tulare County has and continues to implement this recommendation with the construction of community parks and existing parks throughout the county. It is requested that you approve the draft response with any changes that you note and any clerical corrections, and authorize chairman to sign the response letters.
This is one of the main reasons why we continue to push for the expansion of the pool size at Lake Success, because in 1966, if we would have had the capacity to have another 25,000 acre feet of holding, we might have had to release some water over the spillway, but it wouldn't have been as great as it was. So we continue to look at ways to improve the safety of our people in Tulare County. And take the issue of the Deer Creek Bridge. There was one that we replaced that bridge. It's 450 feet long. We won't have to go back there again. So that'll improve people's lives. Any comments?
Well, sure. I was going to move approval, but I just wanted to say that I'm very proud of our agency for moving forward with projects. For many years, we focused entirely upon raising spillways, and we didn't do anything else in the county, and now we're doing some other projects in addition to that, and the projects that were outlined are significant. And also the recharge projects associated with that are twofold benefit. One of the holdups in the past has been if you do anything to increase the flow of water down a stream where it would cause a flooding problem downstream, you actually are incurring liability. And by creating off-site storage, we're able to offset that flooding capacity and at the same time do things to improve our water quantity in terms of recharge opportunities. So it's a mutual benefit, and I'm just very happy we're moving forward with these projects. So I move approval.
Moved by Supervisor Worley.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Cox. Cast your votes. Vote unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, we'll move on now to item number 29, approval of an agreement with the California Department of Public Health. Obesity.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Spada, County Council. Thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes of your time today. We'll move through this presentation rather quickly, but so just some quick background. In 2013, the California Department of Public Health awarded us our first nutrition education obesity prevention grant, a little over $3 million. And in September of that same year, we used the RFP process to select 4 community partners who have been helping us in this work the last 3 years, namely Family Healthcare Network, FoodLink, Fuya Delta Foundation, and the Tulare County Office of Education. So recently, the California Department of Public Health has notified us that they would wish to renew the grant with HHSA for another 3-year period. And that new 3-year grant period will begin this October and run through September 30th of 2019 because they're on federal fiscal years due to the USDA programming. And for a similar grant amount of $3.3 million. Again, this program has some core objectives, which is to promote increased fruit and vegetable consumption and physical activity, implement nutrition education classes and activities with parents and children in school and after-school programs, and to conduct policy systems and environmental policy change that support and promote healthy eating habits and physical active lifestyle. This is the new component of this 3-year cycle grant compared to last cycle, which is the reason why we are requesting an additional 2 FTEs to support this work. This policy systems and environmental projects are quite interesting, and they require a lot of work with the community and various governmental organizations to really kind of pin down what are the opportunities for change in terms of policies, systems, and environment. And so they will be doing that work along with supporting the 4 subcontractors. We will continue with the 4 subcontractors that we awarded in 2013, and to continue to monitor and evaluate the contracts. So with that, we request that the board approve the agreement with the California Department of Public Health and accept the award for funding from the department in an amount not to exceed $3,328,638 for the Nutrition Education and Obesity Prevention Program effective October 1st, 2016 through September 30th, 2019. We also ask that you authorize the chairman to sign 8 copies, each of the... Yes, they're growing, of the grant agreement, the certification regarding lobbying, and the contractor certification clauses, and approve the attached personnel resolution adding the allocation of 2 health education specialists for the program. That does conclude my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jason, I know that probably one of the biggest problems in Tulare County as well in the nation is obesity tied to diabetes.
Yes.
I think what my record's right, 50% of the people in Tulare County have diabetes.
Pretty close.
My family, I had my mother and my sister both had diabetes, so I'm very concerned about that. But it is a big problem, and diet is. Supervisor Rashida?
Yes, I mentioned this on the radio this morning. We're going to have a significant increase in our insurance premiums this year for the county, and one of the reasons for that is diabetes, and the other one was asthma, and I think a lot of it came from the fires that we had last year. But when we talk about obesity and related to diabetes, and I think one of the reasons we received this grant is we have a high population of Hispanics who are more prone to diabetes than other groups. But let's not just look at the new immigrants, because the new immigrants, when I'm in the grocery store, they buy fruits and vegetables. In fact, if it wasn't for them, we'd be in a lot of trouble in the fruit business. So, because I think they look at that, they've never had that luxury of having all the fruits and vegetables available to them before. Well, I think we need to look at second, third generation people on nutrition. Because I guarantee you, I don't eat the same food my grandfather ate, nor my father. And as we move to generation to generation, our diets change, and they probably become more detrimental to our health than when our grandparents came. So I hope it's just not looking at immigrants, because it's way beyond the immigrants.
No, we have a number of target populations, and actually one of the hallmarks of this program has been actually partnering with the grocery stores, and we've had some great grocery stores in the Woodlake area, Farmersville area, and the outlying areas allow us to actually bring in customers and teach them how to shop for the vegetables and the fruits and to shop the outer aisles of the supermarket and not focus on the prepackaged food and some of that. And that has made a tremendous difference in just sort of how can I ensure, because a lot of the folks that we work with in this program tend to be low income or perhaps on the food stamp program, and they're always trying to figure out how do I, stretch my dollar to, because there's a perception that it's unaffordable to purchase some of these fruits, vegetables, and everything. So we really focus on educating them on how to shop, how to budget, how to stretch that dollar, in addition to all these other things. And it has been, I think, very helpful in our community, especially as we've partnered with TICO, who really gets to the kids and some of the after-school programs, and we get to Family Healthcare Network and some of the other clinics that also have similar target populations, that we're really trying to just emphasize a really physical activity and a healthy diet go hand in hand. And that's part of it, too, is the physical activity, trying to encourage more physical activity, structuring programs around physical activity, and so, we'll continue that work hopefully for the next 3 years.
Mr. Chair, I've just got a few comments. First of all, don't say that we haven't changed our diets. I love my liquid calories, and I'll take them all day. But first of all, I want to compliment you on your drawing here. You did a great job, Jason. Not only are you talented in the health world, your artistic skills are pretty solid.
Those are
too.
free drawings, by the way, so there's no copyrights.
A couple things come to mind. I know that early in my career on the board, really tried to get a program going related to showcasing our local produce and fresh fruits, vegetables. I know Eric Coyne worked pretty hard on that too at that time, related to Taste Tulare County. And I think that there's an opportunity through the NEOP program to really partner with our local agricultural industry, showcasing our locally grown goods, which would mutually benefit not only the consumer but the producer as well. I would like to see if we can integrate that into the implementation of this grant in the future going forward. I think that would be a very positive outcome. And then the second thing, I know that item 6 on here says that the state can terminate within a 30-day written notice period of this grant. Question for you, if there's any concern related to that, given the fact that we know that another economic downturn could potentially come in the next 3 years. Is there any fear that should we hire these 2 people, that could result in them needing to be laid off at some point if the state decided to terminate?
Oh, that's a great question, and one thing I've learned in my career is don't make promises. But as we can see it now, and as all indications are from the state and the USDA, they're committed to this program.
Okay, good.
This program, actually, if I can just kind of brag, since Supervisor Ishida actually asked, this program actually came about in 2013 because of particularly my involvement personally in the State Association for Welfare Directors to bring about more education and bring these dollars into the public health departments and create a partnership with public health between social services to really focus on this group. And so we've been able to really do some good work statewide in those last 3 years. And so points well taken. I know we have a work plan and the state's approved that work plan, but I do know many of our partners do focus a lot on the farmers markets and those types of things, but we'll take those comments back and see if we can incorporate them into that plan.
Great, thank you. I was going to kind of piggyback on something that Supervisor Ishida said, and I go to a little market in Sultana, which is a great little market that focuses primarily on providing fresh fruit and vegetables aimed primarily at the Hispanic population, which is the predominant population in that area. And I commented to the gal, I said, it'd be nice if, I don't even know what half the stuff is. I said, if you had taste testing and so forth, I'd know whether or not I like something that I don't even know what it is. But it occurs to me as we think about these generational issues, as we move along, people lose some of that heritage because I guarantee you their grandparents probably ate nothing but natural foods, but as we move along and there's more of this moving towards packaged foods and candy and prepackaged items. But there's nothing like tasting something and finding how good a fresh nectarine tastes or a peach tastes, and having a child taste that and say, wow, that's really good. I'd want that. The idea of sort of expanding their horizon, if you will, of people who have lost something over time to recognize there's some wonderful things out there and how it's prepared. So utilizing, I guess, I'm thinking of utilizing the stores and these marketplaces to sort of showcase these things. And paying them perhaps to make this stuff available for free so people can taste it. Because once you taste something like that, then you say, wow, I didn't realize how good they were. I've never eaten one before, but now that I've eaten it, I'd like to have more of it. And we know parents often respond to the kids, Mommy, 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 I want this, I want that. Well, if they wanted fresh fruit and vegetables versus wanting a Coke, that could be a kind of a way of segueing into doing what you're trying to accomplish. Anyway, just a thought. I hope.
No, and that's a great comment, because part of this program is exactly what we do, and so unfortunately that was my fault for not maybe highlighting that. But that's exactly what we do. Part of the education process is healthy recipes, and not only healthy recipes, but alternative for their culture. So there's a whole cookbook that we hand out that are some of the, I would say, the top 20, Spanish, recipes that are cultural, sort of rooted in the culture, and how to make them a healthier alternative. And that's why we do these fruit and veggie fests. We do a lot of these different partnerings with the grocery stores because of trying to get the taste testing, trying to help people do recipe. One of our big things is infused water. Instead of drinking soda, we teach them how to prepare infused water, whether that be lemonade with strawberry or kiwi or different types, so that becomes an alternative drink than sugary sweetened beverages or soda or something else. So there is a lot of that work occurring. Unfortunately, I just didn't highlight that here today, but that's part of this program. And the other piece too is also about the getting it really out into the communities. And this policy and systems and environmental piece that we have in our work plan this cycle is going to be part of that, working with those small stores about what can they do to bring in some alternatives that won't break their bank either, and how can we help them sort of incentivize the purchasing of that. So that's what we talk about. That's an example of policy and systems change.
A couple of further things. I think the partnership with the Office of Ed is a great thing. That's how we can really invest in the youth and change the way that they're thinking. And secondly, I'll make another advocation for the infused waters. Maybe bring some over here to the board chambers, because none of my colleagues seem to have tried them, because they are wonderful. And I offered it at a water commission meeting. I thought that was the perfect place, and I couldn't even get a Sheeta to try it. So,
is Seagram's part of the infusion?
What's that?
I said, is Seagram's part of the infusion?
And I
was thinking about gravy.
I would contend Diet Dr. Pepper is infused water.
All right. Well, with that, Mr. Chair, if there are no public comments, I would move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Supervisor Vanderpool, seconded by Supervisor Sheeta.
Thank you.
Unanimous, thank you. Well, I guess that concludes our open meeting. Do we have need for closed session, Council?
Mr. Chairman, bear with me because I don't want to there's several that are off, and I don't want to misstate. You have items A through J on your board's closed session and closed session special meeting agendas. Items B, C, D, and G are off agenda.
Okay.
You will not meet regarding item J, that is the special meeting item, until 11 o'clock or after. And we do anticipate an announcement out.
Okay, thank you. We will adjourn the open session and move to closed session.
announcement out of closed session today, Tuesday, July 26, 2016, by Kathleen Bales-Lang, County Council, in the matter of item A on the board's closed session agenda, City of Exeter versus County of Tulare, Tulare County Superior Court case number 262516. The board authorized and approved the chairman to sign a mutual release and compromise agreement to settle the litigation with the City of Exeter. This was done on motion of Supervisor Worthley, seconded by Supervisor Cox, on a unanimous vote. And then we go to E. In the matter of item E on the board's closed session agenda, Air Pollution Control District notice of violation, the board authorized settlement in the form of a reduced fine offer from the Pollution Control District, authorized the chairman to sign any necessary documents on motion of Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Worthley, on a unanimous vote. In the matter of item F on the board's closed session agenda, the board authorized a defense of the action and a defense of all employee defendants with a reservation of rights on motion of Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Ishida, on a unanimous vote. There are no other announcements.